My name's John Burton. Today I'm going to tell my story about how I grew up in the criminal world and how I've come past that now and lead a straight life. I run a company called Inside Connections CIC, which is a non-for-profit organisation that helps people rehabilitate coming from prison. I was born up on Vauxhall Road in Vauxhall Gardens. I moved from there at the age of 7 to Walton, in between Everton and Liverpool's grounds on Fountains Close. And from there, I grew into a criminal, and I always knew in life that that was the way I was going to go.
How did you know that you were always going to go down the criminal route? What was it like growing up in Liverpool in the 1980s?
Look, Liverpool was a lot different in the 1980s as it is today. There's a lot of stuff for people to be doing out there, where when we were young, 10, 11, 12, 13, weren't really much for us to do. Started smoking pot at an early age of about 11. Obviously then to get pot, we had to just do a little bits of robberies on factories and stuff like that, just to get a bit of money and basically pay for our weed. And we used to sit in a shed and cut all our weed up and sell it to make money to buy more weed, to get stoned, probably listening to Pink Floyd and Genesis and stuff like that. It just grew from there.
Then was it the lack of money or the want for drugs that kind of drove you more down that path?
It was a lack of money, but you know, when we grew up, obviously I lived on a council estate, and you know, my mum and dad just done everything they could for us, but obviously money was tight around them days. My dad and my mum, they done everything they could, but you know, if you want to go and buy weed, you're not going to go and ask your mum for a tenner to go and buy weed. So for us, it was just getting involved in criminality, and obviously watching a lot of my mates getting addicted to heroin at that time as well. It took a big effect on me, because I seen what happened to them after 3 months of taking it. And for me, I just wanted to smoke weed and just be with my mates, and that's how it just grew from there.
Was it kind of a choice between like become a dealer or become addicted almost, or
It was a little bit different with heroin, because I didn't really agree with it. It was one of them drugs like crack and heroin. It's something I've never really gone anywhere near. I've only gone near sort of your drugs that like your weed, your speed, ecstasy, MDMA and cocaine. There's just the drugs I only went near, to be honest. I know crack's made from cocaine, like, but obviously I didn't go down that route of making stuff like that.
And when you first started, obviously you started selling, you know, a bit of weed here and there to kind of pay for weed and, you know, get yourself a new pair of shoes or what, or pay for your lifestyle. How quickly did you see that becoming not just a means to an end, but you seriously thought, I have a future in this, I can start making profit, I can start building something? Yeah,
I think at about 14 and stuff, I started working with a lot of older lads, obviously who had nice clothes, nice trainers, stuff like that, and they took to me. Basically I started doing things for them and getting paid little bits of money as well. And I think from there I just liked to have a little bit of money on me and just go and buy some decent clothes and stuff like that. And for me, it was just growing up wanting to have that money to do it. I didn't really go to school much or get qualifications, so coming out of school, I didn't think I would be beneficial to go and get a job. I did have a few little jobs here and there, but besides all that, I was still always involved in drugs or criminality in some way.
At that kind of age, these little like odd jobs and things, what was kind of expected of you as a new entrant to the criminal lifestyle?
It was nothing really expected of me. At the end of the day, if you're getting drugs, you sell them, you make your money, and you pay your bill there, and you just go from there.
And how did you? Were there any kind of red flags that stuck up to you when you were kind of these formative years, like criminal years, you know, 14, 15, 16, up to like your early 20s? Was there anything that kind of cropped up for you that made you question the decisions that you were making, or again, were you just kind of the young buxom lad kind of just going for it?
Well, we didn't have technology in them days, so that would have been the red flag. You know, if we needed to make a phone call, we'd go to a phone box and make a call from a phone box. So in them days to where we are now, it was totally different. Intelligence, stuff like that, there weren't really much of it. It was just sort of hearsay or what police names would get given, but there was no technology. So phones were, I don't think the first phone I got must have been about 17, 18. I think it was about 1985, the first one come out, and I think you had to walk around with a box with a telephone lead on it. And then obviously the brick came in about 1986, 87. That was probably the first phone I ever had.
So did you ever think that like the police would be monitoring you, or that, you know, kind of before you became kind of Juicebomb John, in the lead up to that, did you ever think that the police would be monitoring you, that
You'd always,
you were ever going to get?
you'd always have
end up in prison?
you'd always have a fear of them following you or being where you're going anyway. You'll always have a fear of that, no matter what. But not at early age, I didn't know, because I was probably too young and naive to know that.
Yeah, still kind of working off your estate, things like
Yeah,
that.
and you know, some of the things I done when I was a kid, I just done it because I was young and naive, but it just didn't appeal to me about the police following me, because I weren't really that much into the criminal world where I was later on in life. When you're growing up, you're 14, 15, 16, 17, you're only selling little bits of weeds anyway, so it weren't really something to be on the radar. Obviously, people who were bringing large amounts of weeds in were probably on the radar, but the likes of us getting half an ounce and cutting it up probably weren't on anyone's radar.
And how did you progress up until the point where you became one of those kind of people bringing in big shipments?
It started probably in 1987, 88. I went to Quadrum Park, and I've always heard about this Quadrum Park that, you know, it was the new rave scene. Rave had just come out and everyone was on LSD and ecstasy and stuff, and because we'd never sort of touched that, we didn't really know what it was about. I went to Quadrum Park, and the first time I went there, it sort of opened my eyes and that's where the big change in my life come, because when I went in there, I just seen everyone with glow sticks, whistles, everyone sweating, having a good time. And from there, then, you know, I took my first ecstasy in there. And I must admit, I probably had the best night of my life growing up there. And then the week after I wanted to go, I didn't have the money to go, so I went and got, I think it was about 150 tablets the first time, 150 E's. Sold them in the club, had a weekend out, paid for me and all my mates to have a weekend out, and I still had a couple of grand in my pocket.
A grand?
Yeah.
How much would you do?
£20 we were selling the tablets for. We were probably making £8 a pill at the time.
So that's some serious profit when you're, how old were you?
17, 18, yeah.
That's some serious money for what is essentially a weekend's work and a weekend's partying. So is this kind of how you ended up, where you started to see the attractive side of that life, where you know, you could go and, you know, you could earn a month's wages in a weekend and still party at the end of it? Can you take me through that?
The way I seen it is you had a really good weekend. After the Quadrum Park, you know, there used to be an all-nighter, or you'd go back to someone's house and you'd probably party to the weekend, and you'd be taking more ecstasy and you'd just be having a good time. And on the Monday when you wake up and you count your money and you've got a couple of grand left over, then obviously it opens your eyes, doesn't it? And you're thinking to yourself, well, I can capitalise on that. You know, every drug dealer is in it for one reason, to capitalise and make as much money as you can. And I think the week after we got 500 pills, and then the week after that we got more, and I think it was just grown from there, and we just controlled different parts of the city where we were selling. Probably had about 15 lads selling different pills and having a meet on the Monday, collecting it all in, and then just rolling again the week after.
So it kind of developed into it stopped just being like, oh, it will pay for the weekend, and it starts becoming like, oh, we can make we can make a bit off of this. So this kind of like, I hesitate to say good time. How long did these kind of good times last, when it was, you know, you and 10, 15 other lads just kind of selling and having a giggle? See, the thing is, it's them 10 or the 15 lads probably weren't with us. They were just people who were selling for us. There was probably a handful of us who were just collecting the money every week off them, and we seen the amount of money that was coming in off it. We just basically kept getting more and growing until we started buying our own, probably 10,000 tablets in a bag. And then them 10,000 tablets would probably sell in 2 weeks. And then the money you were earning off that, you would just put them back in, and you were just buying more pills with them. So how long kind of between that first bag of 150 and like your first 10,000 bag? Oh, within 12 months, easy. That quick? Yeah. That quick? Yeah. And how much? And if you're making £8 a pill on that, that's ludicrous money. Yeah, yeah. So how long after that did it take for you to kind of see the darker side of the criminal world? I think what we would see as the violence. Yeah, once I was getting sort of into my 20s, I was probably I was selling a lot of tablets, but I was also selling a lot of weed as well. Weed then days were just more like bars of Rocky. It weren't sort of green. The only green you could really get would be like Sensimelia, and we just used to sell bars of Rocky or kilos of Rocky, and then we'd have the tablets as well. So we just kept growing and growing from there. And I think in that game, when you're earning money like that and you've got a few people around you trust, and you know they'll have your back,
it's just about getting growing then.
And like I said, did you ever face any kind of confrontation over what you were doing, either from the police? You know, were you on the police radar? Were you finding that, you know, there were people kind of moving in on your territory? Were you getting recognised for what you did?
Do you know what? We didn't really have territories. We just had clubs, people going in and out of clubs, and obviously we were working with the doorman on there as well. So for us, it weren't about having a territory. It was just about getting into the clubs and obviously having good nights out with ecstasy. And I think it was all going well up until about, I think it was about 1994, 95. And I think a young girl from Essex died, a girl called Leah Betts. And obviously that's when the police just clamped right down on ecstasy. And obviously the sentences then were getting a bit higher. And don't forget, cocaine started coming into the country in the late 80s. And obviously we started getting involved in that. Further on in life, probably into my late 20s, started messing around with cigarettes. The jail was a lot lower for it, but the money was big profits in it. And that's where I started going into them and getting away from the drug side of it and just getting involved in smuggling cigarettes.
So with regards to, did you have any kind of police confrontations with the drugs and leading into the cigarettes, or was it mostly?
Yeah, in them days though, you had a couple of police that would probably tip you off who you knew. Mm-hmm. Obviously technology again weren't like it is today, so you know you get a little sort of tip off that people were looking at you and you'd either piss off abroad or you'd just stay at home and stop everything for a few months and just try and live a normal life. But it's not that easy. You're addicted to it.
Well, could you tell me more?
Yeah, it's just, you know, when you're earning money and you're earning lots of it, you get addicted to it. And you'd always think, I want to earn as much money as I can and get out of it. But the bigger you grow in it, one fall, it just puts you back to square one. You could build your profits up to £500,000 or something, investing in another loads of drugs, and then them drugs get caught, then obviously you're back to virtually square one, aren't you? So it's about investing to get stuff to make that profit 2 or 3 times larger. But if it gets busted or someone grabs hold of your bits, then obviously it leaves you in a bit of a situation, and you're straight back at it then to get your money back up.
Did you ever compare what you were doing at that point in your life with regards to the drugs before you moved on to cigarettes and things with the world that you saw growing up?
Not really. It was just as the world was changing. As the world was changing, you adapt to a new 5 years, because every 5 years, everything in this world changes really quick. And obviously phones then were a lot easier to use, a lot smaller. I think we were using like Nokia 3210s or, you know, stuff like that. And for us, that was what we needed to make links in different places. And obviously when we were going to raves, we were going all over the country. So we were going to Birmingham, we were going to Sheffield, we were going to Manchester, we were going to London. When you go to all them places, you make links, don't you? I don't know why, but everyone used to come up to me and ask me for ecstasy in a club. I must have just looked like a drug dealer, you know. So all my mates would be standing there and they'd just come straight to me. Have you got any pills? I'll say, do I look like a drug dealer? They go, yeah. So it was just one of them. It's like now a network in a straight world, where I used to network in a criminal world then.
Yeah, well, you used to supply to the West Midlands, parts of Wales and things
like
this. This really
probably supplied a lot of most of this country in different areas. You know, it weren't just one place, because if you were going to South Wales to a rave down there, you'd get links down there. Before you know it, you'd be sending 5,000 and 10,000 pills down there, or you'd be sending 100 key of weed. Same in Newcastle, same in Manchester, same in London. You know, it's where you went to them places. You'd network. You'd sort of go to different raves and meet different people, and everyone who was in a rave was basically on drugs, because that was the best time of your lives when you were in there, when you think about it, yeah.
So how did your life change when the more hardline drugs policies were brought in? And can you tell me a little bit about kind of your first run-ins with the police and your first sentence?
I've had run-ins with the police since I was about 13, 14, growing up. I always used to have police everywhere around us. It's just whether we had stuff on us or at the time what we were doing. And when we were kids, you used to just go to different parts of the city and fighting against like Walton Breck, or, you know, that's what it'd be, and then the police would have you doing stuff like that. But first, it was probably in my late 20s. I was importing cigarettes in a big volume. I was probably doing about 28 to 30,000 sleeves a day. That was 5 days a week. Obviously, that's probably a 300 or 400 grand a day in cash. I was selling 28,000 sleeves every day for 5 days a week for probably 6-12 months on that.
And what was the market for that? Like where
Massive.
did you get these?
So I was working with people in Europe. I was having them sent over, and they were duty frees at the time. So they were all real cigarettes. They're just what you used to be able to buy in Spain. And I used to bring them over in bulk. So it'd be like Super Kings, Benson and Edges, which we had to send down south because no one up north smoked them. Regal King Size, Embassy #1. It was just all your brands, what were out at that time that we were importing and selling. And I'd have 2 people come from Scotland and Newcastle one day and take probably a load between them. A couple of people from Wales, a couple of people from London. I'd have different customers every day from different parts of the country. And if everyone takes 10 or 15,000 sleeves, then you're selling them all in a day.
You're taking serious money at that point. So can you tell me how you started then about your first kind of running in your late 20s and your first, can you tell me about your first proper?
Yeah, so with the cigarettes, I think someone just made a mistake, and I think one number got us all arrested in the end. I had 26 wagons with between 28 and 32,000 sleeves in. So they're the 200 packets. I had about 28 to 32,000 in each wagon, but I also had 4 containers in Felixstowe dock with 90,000 in each of them. So I think when we got arrested, it was the customs and excise. Obviously the police don't get involved in anything to do with VAT or evasion of tax. So it was custom and excise who got me first. And they had me, I think, with 1.2 million sleeves of cigarettes. Probably in today's money, probably about 100 odd million quid. In them days, it was probably about 50 million quid.
And what came from that? What repercussions did you suffer?
So I got 4 years prison sentence, and then because I'd spent a lot of money on property and lap dancing clubs, stuff like that, they just basically seized everything. Anything that had my name on it or seized your bank accounts, they just totally just frozen everything and took what they believed was criminal money. And obviously, when you're young, your lap dancing club was one of them things where you were one of the boys, used to have a laugh, things like that. Look, if I had to change my life back to when there, I wouldn't have spent a lot of money on a lot of things, but it's part and part of life of growing up. And, you know, when I grew up in this city, I just wanted to have a nice car, nice house, nice clothes, nice girlfriend, clubs, houses. You're earning that much money, you spend it. And when you spend it and you don't cover your backside on it properly, then when everything falls down, the police will just come and take it all off you.
And how was it at that first time having, like you said, the lifestyle being addictive, and you've got lap dancing clubs and houses and nice clothes and nice cars and all this, that and the other, and to have it all kind of, was it like a snapshot kind of situation where, you know, almost like in a film where it's just like, kind of, and now you're in a cell? Yeah,
when I got caught, I think in 2004, they hit me with a confiscation order of £14 million. And that was basically saying the assets and the money and the evasion of duty that I'd had. 16 wagons were still outside the UK and they were still in Europe. And obviously I said to the judge that anything passes UK waters, that's where I've evaded duty. He went, "That's right, Mr. Burton." I said, "Well, 16 of them wagons were still in Europe. They never entered English waters." I said, "So that case, I shouldn't have to pay duty on them," which they agreed. They got it down to, I think it was about £1 million. And then obviously when they took all the assets and stuff like that, they just stripped it and took everything that was worth near £1 million.
And when you walked out of prison after that first 4 years, what did you have to your name?
Not really. I had some cash put away, what I'd put away anyway. And I knew, look, when you're in prison and you've got a family and kids and stuff, it still costs you money. You know what I mean? So that money was getting spent while I was in prison. And then obviously I still had a bit of money when I come out. And they put me in prison with a load of people like myself. But because I'd been involved in a sort of a high level crime with a lot of money, I was meeting all different types of people in prison. And I was angry. And when I come out of prison in 2005, I was angry that they took everything off me. And I just wanted to get out there and say, "Do you know what? I'm cracking on again and getting my money back." And that's what I did.
Can you tell me what you did?
Yeah, I started getting involved in weed, cocaine, amphetamines, ecstasy, anything that I could sort of get in bulk and sell in bulk, that's what I was doing. And I was just, for a good few years, I was in and out of Spain and stuff like that, and getting involved in smuggling and importations, and obviously meeting different people over there and trying to get all my money back, which I started doing. Got myself a good pot of money, and then sent a couple of different bits home on wagons that got seized. And obviously, again, puts you right back down to square one, where you've just lost a big proportion of your money, and you know, come to the fact that you could end up owing some money out. So if you owe some money out, you have to carry on again and try and win the battle, get it home, and move it from there. But you know, the part is when you get it abroad and you smuggle it into the country, then that's step one. Step two is giving it out to different people and different organisations around the country. But then step three is about collecting your money in. Not everyone has been successful with their bits, and people might have got caught, or there's money being seized, or police have seized drugs and stuff like that. Then there becomes phone calls. Then phone calls then leads on to aggravation, threats, stuff like that, and next minute, you know, you're involved in a big conspiracy.
And so were you involved in that kind of thing?
Yep.
Do you mind telling me what happened?
Yeah, just obviously when you give stuff out, not everyone pays you, so they don't pay you, you have to take steps into your own hands, and that's what we did. Obviously then, if people were getting hurt or anything like that, then police were getting involved, and people would just throw your name in anyway.
Kind of in a to save their own skin, or to anything?
Both to save their own skin, but to, you know, to try and sort of protect themselves as well.
And do you, upon reflection, how do you feel about that kind of period of your life?
Sad, really. I see it as sad now. Then I didn't care, because they owed me money, or they owed us money, and you know, we'd go as a team and go and get it. But it's when you're in that life, you're just focused on one thing. When you come out of the life and you actually sit back and see the stuff that you shouldn't have got involved in, then you see it as a different light. But when you're in the game, it's totally different than, you know, being out the game. When you're out the game and 100% out the game like I am, you don't look in your mirror no more. You don't check out who's been following you. You don't check if you've seen someone 3 times that you're pulling them up saying, are you a cop, are you following me? You know, it's a life of paranoia, and it always will be a life of paranoia, because no matter what you're doing, you're always going to have that in your head that the police are going to come for you. I knew I was going to jail when I was a kid. It was just when, where and how.
And so how long was this intermediary period after your first sentence, before the sentence which arguably you are more well known for? How long did that last? And alongside the paranoia, what was kind of the challenge that you faced within yourself, kind of getting?
So I got out in 2005. I got arrested at the start of 2011. I got arrested because I was getting bigger and bigger in the world of drugs. And when you start getting bigger like that and you start giving bigger bits out to people, then people talk. You know, phones, people talk too much down phones, and they always did do then. You know, we had phones like your Encros now, where we were using them. So I'd never used an iPhone, I'd always been on a BlackBerry, or before that 3310s or something like that, 8210s, Nokias. I'd always been on them. And I think it was 6 years where I got arrested in 2011 for the conspiracy of Class A and Class B drugs.
And when you were sentenced for your Class A, Class B conspiracy, what sentence did you get? And could you tell me a little bit more about it?
On my first sentence, I got 14 years, and I thought, because my family and everyone were arrested, I'd thrown my hands in early. So I got an early guilty plea, and I got 33% off that, which took me to 9.5 years. At the time, I was in a Cat A unit in Strangeways in Manchester, and because I got under 10 years, it deemed me to come off the Cat A unit. The day I got sentenced, the police went to my family's house and arrested them all for money laundering. And then further down the line, I took another 5 years because me family didn't have nothing to do with what I was doing, you know, but they all got arrested. A lot of them got arrested, and, you know, it made me sad, really, to be honest. But I sort of done a deal with the prosecution that I would take five of the charges and take the prison sentence as long as my family got suspended sentences and didn't go to prison. And that's what I've done, yeah. So I got half then of 5 years. That took me to 12 years.
So were you remanded back to a Cat A, or did you remain in?
No, by this time, once they had arrested me family the day after I got sentenced for the first one, about 2 months after that, they took me off the Cat A book, which then I got put in normal location in Strangeways. I was there for about 2 months, and then they shipped me to Garth, which is a Cat B high security prison. And then from there, I tried to get it moved to Lindholm or Havrig, and I found out that the police had put a blocker on me and wanted me out of the northwest because I had too much influence on cons, prison officers and the drug culture in the north of England. At that time, I was still a big lad. I was obviously mouthy, skinhead, walking around jail, training all the time. And I was a little bit boisterous. And then from there, they moved me down to Wolverhampton, which was HMP Oakwood, which is a brand new prison. Going in there, it was a lot better than the Victorian jails. You had a little cell there, but you had your shower and stuff in there. So for me, it was a good way of living in there. And I think it was in Oakwood. I think probably 3.5 years and 3 years into my sentence, 3.5 years into my sentence, I got involved in using a phone and had a bit of trouble with a few people out there. And then 2 days later, a couple of days later, after we'd been making threats to someone, the police come in, National Crime Agency, with an Osmond warning, said I threatened someone's life. And then from there, then I just never used the phone in prison again and just said, you know what, I've had enough. And then I just started changing my ways. I got moved from there down to the Isle of Sheppey in Kent. I was there for probably the last 19, 20 months of my sentence. But watching my friends, my family, you know, travel down there, taking them 17 hours there and back, you know, to come and see me for an hour, I said, you know what, I've had enough. And then I spoke to the governor in there one day about an idea I had. My mate told me all about apps on iPhones and stuff like that. And then I spoke to the governor about an idea and told him I had an idea about making an app to help people rehabilitate when they come out of prison and give them all the opportunities to find, you know, housing, opportunities to find like dentists, doctors, you know, all the stuff that you really need when you come out with employment and stuff. That's what I went to the governor with. Got out in 2017. I weren't allowed back in Liverpool, so I ended up staying in Kent. I come up to Runcorn for 3 months. I come and see my family, my kids and stuff. And then I went and moved back down to Kent. That's where I'd been in prison. Basically, I went round to every third sector organisation and charities who were working with prisoners and stuff. And I just wanted to get a feel on the help and support that other people were trying to do, where I know people with lived experience could make that a little bit better. From there, I got my app developed, started working with a few different companies, and then I got a breakthrough with Wilmot Dixon.
What happened with Wilmot Dixon?
So Wilmot Dixon asked me to go up and see them, a lady called Jane Greaves. I went up and met Jane and told her about my life and how I grew up and what I'd set up and how I want to be able to give people opportunities to get trained and go into work. And she gave me the first opportunity was on the King's Dock car park. And by that time, I'd just moved back to Liverpool as well, probation, seeing the work I was doing in the country with people, and I was helping people, and I fought my case and I got my restrictions lifted and I moved back up to Liverpool. And I started working on the King's Dock car park with, I think it was about, the first cohort was 12 lads who were still serving prisoners, who were coming out every day. We'd done a 2-week course down there, basically to get everyone the accreditations they needed to get on site with a CSES card. From there, we just basically started growing.
And so from this comes Inside Connection, the not-for-profit.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was opened in 2018 as we were getting bigger and bigger of helping people. Yeah. You know, I used to have people coming to my cell of a morning and drop me a bag off and say, "Scouse, can I leave that here till later?" I say, "Why?" He said, "Because I've got nowhere to live. I'll just go out, have a drink. I'll come back later." And no matter what, they were back in the next day.
What are the main factors that influence local reoffence rates, and how do you think that they can be combated successfully?
Well, you've got to look at it this way. If you're getting out of prison and you've got nowhere to live, there's a barrier you've got to try and overcome straight away. You might have the odd family member who'll put you up for a little bit. If you want to go on universal credit and stay on universal credit, then obviously you're doing it for a reason. You know, for me, it's about look, prison now has got different workshops and different education and stuff in there, and you can actually get a lot while you're in there if you get your head down and do the classroom work or go into the industries and learn to trade.
Allow for that though, as in when you're a serving prisoner, if you want to sit down and just do your workshops and like yourself, just reform yourself and
of course you can, yeah. Everyone who goes into prison's got the opportunity to go into the workshops or to do some work in the prison. Everyone's got that opportunity. Everyone's got the opportunity if they want to go to education and get into some classes where they can do English, maths, stuff like that. Everybody has that opportunity. It's whether you want to take that opportunity.
How does it translate when you come out? If you behave exemplary, you do all your workshops, and you come out day one, you've got your bag on the door.
Yeah.
You've got to sort out a house. You've got to sort out a job. How does it translate?
Firstly, there is people and companies in the prisons that will help and support trying to get you a job. Or trying to get you a house. Not everyone's going to do it. It's when you come out. Look, when I went in prison first, and my first went and come out, I knew what I was getting into straight away. I made enough links in the prison system to start working in a better way when I got out, so I knew what I was doing. If you want to come out and change, then part of that change is getting all your qualifications and getting your education right before you come out. And if you've done that, then 9 times out of 10 you'll come out focused and you'll go straight into work and do it. If you don't go through all that, then there's a barrier when you come out, because one, you need money. You're not really going to get it for 6 or 12 weeks off universal credit. Obviously, you'll get a grant and stuff when you come out, but it's about coming out and trying to get into work. And if that doesn't happen, and you're back at home, you know, you're mixing with the people you were mixing with before long, you're back smoking weed, or you're back going out, you're back taking drugs, you're back getting involved in criminality, and then before you know it, you're back in prison. So it's about having that mentality to come out of prison with some qualifications that you've worked for in there, and obviously speaking with companies like me about what do you want to do. Is it construction you want to go into? We try and work with everybody to find out what they want to do in life. And for me in construction, I would say to people, look, if you don't like the rain, the cold, the sleet, the cold weather, the hot weather, whatever, and that's not working outside for you, so we'll try and put you into a job that would benefit you. It's about getting the people right first and getting the funds and getting them through the qualifications and then actually getting them out and actually doing a job. It's not easy. The first 12 months of coming out of prison for somebody is hard, especially someone who's been used to earning money. But if we can get them in living wage jobs and above, then obviously within 12 months you'll be back to sort of a bit normality. And you know, you've got through the first 12 months. That's the worst part about it. The rest is just about growing.
And what do you think's made Inside Connection so successful? I mean, if I remember correctly, you've had a 98% success rate with people you've helped so far this year.
Yeah, look, not everyone who comes to our courses will go into work. You'd have people who have got mental health issues. You know, there's still a lot of issues that everybody have when they come out of prison. Like when I first come out, I couldn't really sit in my living room. I was always going straight to my bedroom overnight and working from my bed because I was used to sitting in a cell doing it. Do I feel comfortable in a small room with a bed in it than a big house or stuff like that? Yeah. You know, years ago I wanted a big house. I wanted everything big. Now I just don't care. I've got a good life now and I'm straight and I'm happy. And to me, that just blows anything away, because I know now in the future I'm not going to go back to prison. But what I am doing is helping a lot of people. And I run the courses like boot camps, and I'll have an open day of 25 people. There'll be people who are ready to go straight into work. There'll be people who are nearly ready to go into work who need a little bit of work, and there'll be people who are just not ready to go into work. And it's about us having the right team around us to identify that. What I don't want to do is, if you've been on a course and you're on a 2-week course, but you're coming in late 2 or 3 times a week, or you're going home early, then I'm not going to put you in front of an employer, because what you're showing me is that you're not really going to do this job properly. And that's why we have a good rate of people. You know, for me, people who don't drive, a lot of the stuff that we have at the minute is all about going in different areas. And, you know, the jobs we have, if you've been in Liverpool, you might be there for 3 months, but then you might move to Manchester for 3 months. You might move to Wales for 3 months. It's just the pick of the litter, what jobs you really need to go on. And unfortunately, I find it really hard to take where, 18-year-olds, there's a big waiting list for driving lessons. There's a big waiting list for driving tests. It's really hard. So we try and do buddy up systems where we can put a younger person with a more experienced older person, and I get the older person trying to mentor them and pick them up and give them a little bit of encouragement every day to go to work. A lot of people don't want to get up at 6 in the morning and get up and go to work. So these are the barriers we have to overcome, and we keep working with them. And all the companies we do work with, we do give a mentor service across to them that help and support a lot of this along the way. And Wilmot Dixon, when we first done it with them and we give the mentor service, they just said it was like a breath of fresh air, because they'd been working with a few different prisoners and they were sort of managing them as well, which became a full-time job to them. When we took over it, we took all that away from them, and I think it was 2019 we had 20 odd down there, and it was going really, really well, and we were getting more people out of prison on Wrottle, which is released on temporary licence. And then we went into COVID in March 2020. So basically everything in the country just stopped. I think it was 6 months before we started doing training for people who were sort of, I think, on the front line. And we started getting into the little bits of training there, and, we nearly lost everything. We nearly had to close and, shut up shop and just say, look, we tried, it didn't work, but we managed to get through it. And now we're just going from strength to strength.
And how did you feel when you were awarded the Robin Culvert Award, was in June? Did you ever think you'd be in a position where you'd be not just rewarded but recognised for your efforts?
Do you know what I'd won? I think this year, I've won 3 awards. Obviously the Robert Corbett one is a special one to me because I work with the Corbett Foundation. And when I very first met the Corbett Foundation in London, obviously it's all posh people. And you've got the likes of Lady Val, who's just one of the most inspirational women I've ever met in my life. You had David Apiccio, who's there, who works in the prisons. You have Dominic. There's a lot of good team, a lot of good people in there who've given me the best advice ever and grown me into what I'm growing into day by day, because I'm not one of these people who gets funding and abuses it. I'm one of these people who gets funding and gets the outcomes at the end, and that's why I have a really good relationship with all my employers, because I do exactly what I say on the tin. I put people into work. I don't want them on 4-week employability courses or, customer care courses. I'll put them in the courses that they need to get the qualifications to get into work. That's all they need. Get them into work and then let them flourish from there. When I won the award, I was privileged, I was honoured to win the award, but my award for me is watching people come out of prison every day and go to work and go back in at the night time, because that for me knows that I've been in that situation. I know when you go home every month now, where all them lads or girls who go home every month on a home leave, who've been working hard, Monday to Friday, earning their pay, they can actually go out and take their kids out. They can actually help support financially for their families. A lot of men who go into prison leave the women behind who, the men might be the breadwinners in the house. Like me, I was fortunate enough, but not a lot of people weren't. And when they're watching their families struggle when you're in prison, it's not very, very nice. So for me, I'm really passionate about the Wrottle side of it, where, like, up to today, one of the Northwest prisons now, I have 31 people coming out. So they come out of a morning, they go to work and they're back in the prison of a night, depends on what shift they're on. But for me, I'm changing 31 people's lives there. But when you look at it realistically, you're probably changing 100 now, because you've got children, you've got the family, you've got the girlfriends, the wives, and by them doing the work and earning their stripes in a Cat D prison, that for me shows that when they go home every month, they can help support their family and, do stuff that they've always wanted to do. And while you're in prison and you're not earning money and you go home on a home leave, then you haven't got that bit of stability to help and support your family. So it's about me now. We've come through COVID. The prisons are back open. One of the biggest companies I work with now, we've proved by statistics alone that the people that are in them sites have, the work ethic's gone right through the roof. They've been doing double work than what's been getting done before. The drug culture's gone in there. The attitude in there has gone brilliant. So we've proved that by putting the prisoners into these places, is, you know, we've proved a point that not everyone's bad in the prison system. There's people there who just need to be given a chance and given the opportunity to go out and work. And I hope by the end of next year, I've probably got 500-600 people coming out every day on Wrottle. And for me, that's a milestone I'll get to. Another milestone is there's never been anyone that'd be able to do an apprenticeship while they've been a serving prisoner. So Inside Connections have signed one of the first ever prisoners up to become an apprenticeship on a highways in London. For me, that's a massive milestone. And especially coming from someone who's been inside, to sign them up and actually know they've got 18 months left to serve, but they can go out every day and go learn an apprenticeship, so they've got a trade when they come out. That to me will stop reoffending.
And as a kind of a final point, taking from your own experiences, both in prison as someone that's lived kind of in the criminal lifestyle, as someone that has come out the other end with clean hands and is making positive change in the lives of others who would have or have been following their own footsteps, what words of wisdom would you have to kind of to give to the young people of the country as we go into, you know, economic freefall?
Technology has took over. Police are the biggest gang in the country. They've got the biggest technology in the country, and crime doesn't pay. It might pay in the short run, but it certainly won't pay in the long run, because if you get higher and higher and higher ranked up in what you're doing, then you're just becoming aware to police and everyone else around you. Look, I changed within a couple of weeks from buying stupid amounts of cars for serious amounts of money. When your neighbours are seeing it and other people are seeing you grow and you're wearing nice clothes, nice cars, stuff like that, surely to God the police are watching you as well. So for me, it's, look, I'll never say to anyone, you know, don't sell drugs or don't get involved in criminality, but what I will tell you is if I could change my life, back then I would have, but it's led me to where I am today. And like I said, the police are the biggest gang in the country. You ain't going to get around them. You've got police informants, you've got technology, you've got phones that listen to you, you've got bugs. These are all the things that if they want to get you, they're going to get you, simple as. That's the way it is. I don't think you can tell me probably any criminals in Liverpool who've been high ranked that haven't been caught. Look how many people have been caught on Encro phones. You know, there's people getting 30 and 35 years for drugs. It's never ever been heard of. I always said 10 years ago, our prison systems are going to go like America. And obviously we're getting American jails built here now. And every year I see sentences going up and up and up. And when someone gets 35 years for being involved in the drug culture and importation of drugs or making drugs, then you've got to sit down and realise that's 35 years, that's 17 and a half years of your life thrown out the window. And when you're sitting in jail and the judge gives you a 30 or 35 year sentence, oh, you know about it, because you know you're going to be sitting in that room for God knows how long. And look, prison for me, I could say I enjoyed it. I was with people like myself every single day. It's when the door shuts of a night and you can't go see your family or you can't speak to your family and stuff like that. That's when it starts playing in your head, you know. So for me, I'd never say to anyone, don't do this or don't do that. But what I will educate them is that it will come crashing down one day. And if you've bought houses, if you've bought shops, if you've bought clubs, if you've put money into anything and it's in your own name and it's to do with drugs or money, believe me, when the police come, they'll be taking every single bit away from you. I was gutted I got all mine took away from me, but you know what? I don't care no more. I met a judge about 4 years ago, and really high judge in Liverpool, and I get on with him really well. He's brilliant, and he told me it was his mate that sentenced me, and did I have any animosity towards him? I went, probably when I started my sentences, I couldn't stand him because I thought he was harsh with me, and I thought the sentence that I got I didn't deserve. Now I said, tell him thank you. I said, because he's the one who gave me all them years in jail and, you know, has changed me into what I am today. And I don't have anything against him anymore, because I did earn criminal money. I bought stuff for criminal money. It all got took away from me. And you know what? I don't care no more. I live a nice, easy life. I get a wage, and that's all I'm happy about. At least I can go home every night and see my family. And to me, that's all I care about. And one big thing I care about is helping people rehabilitate and trying to reduce the reoffending rate in the country. And I think we're doing a really good job at it. And I think we're just going to grow and grow and grow. I think the more funding we get, the more jobs we can put people in. And you've got to remember, when I come out of prison in 2017 and wanted to take on the world of how I wanted to do this and do that, I was fresh from the criminal world. I was fresh out of prison. Who in the right minds will give me a lump of funds and to go and do this stuff? So I worked with a lot of people all around the country who supported me and give me bits of funds in here and there. Now I'm winning funds and with big organisations, you know, who have grown into relationships where, but you know what, we're proving a point. We're getting the outcomes and we're getting people into work, and that's what matters with funding. You know, it's not just about a bum on a seat. It's about a bum on a seat, putting that bum on a seat into work and giving them and the company a little bit of mentoring and help to sort of build that bridge and get them cracking on their own, and that's all that matters.
John, thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.
I'm a little conscious that you've got to edit all this, but I've really enjoyed our conversation.
Yeah, me too, yeah.
Thank you very much for your time. Man. It was rollercoaster.
See?